I feel like Sierra, the only one here, because she's the only one on jury. Hello, castaways, and welcome to The Cup TV, part of the Currently Unnamed Podcast Network, where we put the real and the tea in reality, and you can always come to us first to quench your thirst. I'm Logan Murphy, say something gay, and I'm currently just drinking some water because hydration is obviously incredibly important. And yes, I am here on my own today to give you all of my thoughts about episode 9 of Survivor 47. It's been a minute since I have been here for a Survivor review. I'm very happy to be back. I'm very happy to be doing this today, and I'm going to give you all of my thoughts on everything that happened in this episode, because I'm going to be honest, I was annoyed with this episode. But it is what it is. Before we dive in, though, make sure to subscribe if you've not already, because we're here almost all the time, giving you almost all things competitive reality TV. And make sure to check out the description below, where you can find all of our audio podcast links, our other YouTube channels, and our Patreon, as well as where you can get your merch, including but not limited to Cup Mug. That link is in the description, lanagcreations.etsy.com. And we do ship domestically within the United States and internationally, so there are no excuses. Unless there are some excuses, then there are some excuses, because there are some excuses. So I'm just gonna dive into this episode. I haven't been here for a bit, but very happy to see certain people voted out. Not gonna dwell on that. Not super thrilled to see Sierra voted out, unfortunately. I think she was a really important part of the game. I think she could have gone a lot further. Unfortunately, that didn't happen for her. So everyone comes back. Everyone who's blindsided was like, oh, I'm good. Don't worry about it. And then in confessionals, like, I'm pissed. I hate everything. Yeah, that's basically it. And then the intro part of the episode was weird, because it's basically just a long, extended rehashing of what happened in the previous episode. But yeah, it's basically just a big rehashing by Andy and Rachel of what happened in the previous episode. And it's like, why do we need that? Why did we need that? I don't know why we needed it. I was just confused the whole time. Anyway, we go to the challenge. And this challenge, they were prompted to get into pairs before the challenge. And so we had Teeny and Saul, Sue and Genevieve, Andy and Sam, Rachel and Caroline, and then Gabe and Kyle. And Kyle's like, yeah, I want to go up against Gabe so I can beat him and then vote him out. And we'll talk about it, not what happened. But first stage, you had to go through this little sand tunnel and then dig up the puzzle bag. And my favorite part about this is that Teeny mentioned that their ass just did not fit at all. I loved it. I'm loving Teeny. So loving Teeny so far. And then poor Andy and Sam, they ripped the like ribbon thing off of their the bag broke off when they were trying to get their puzzle step piece out of the sand pit, meaning that they ended up losing the first part of the challenge, as well as Caroline and Rachel. And the part that I hate the most is that now all 4 of them have lost their vote, and they have to go on a journey to get their votes back. Can we stop making people lose their votes? It is jury. It is jury. Why are we still making people lose their votes? Probst, can't stand it. Regardless. We go to the second part of the challenge. Sue and Genevieve are slaying. They are demolishing. They are doing the damn thing with this this puzzle step situation that they get up to the top. And if it was just that, they would have made it to the final part of the challenge. But unfortunately, it wasn't. They then had to cross a 3-stage balance beam. And they did so very slowly. And so slowly, in fact, that both other teams caught up to them, made it to the other side of the balance beam, and then Probst had to tell them they had to slide down to get to the actual mat at the bottom, racing each other because they're competitive, whatever. And they end up making it to the final part of the challenge. They will end up getting the picnic reward back at camp. Love that for them. And Sue and Genevieve, they don't get the reward, but they do have a vote. Cool. They're kind of just in this middle spot now. So, we are going to part 3. It is the classic stand in the frame for as long as you can. My favorite part of this is when Gabe is asked by Probst how he's feeling, and Gabe just says, politely, Jeff, don't talk to me. And he just goes, politely, I understand. It ends up coming down to Kyle and Gabe, though, for the immunity. Saul and Teeny both drop at basically the same time. And we end up with Gabe beating our resident immunity champion, Kyle. He had been undefeated until that point. And hey, a 75% record is still good so far on this season, Kyle. So Gabe wins individual immunity. And we've got the 3 groups basically going off on their own things. We've got the 4 first losers going on a journey. We've got Sue and Genevieve going back to camp. Just normal camp things. And then the 4 winners on the reward, and the 4 winners going on at the winner's feast, they all agree, okay, cool, let's take Sam out. Awesome. And they're like, yeah, Genevieve and Sue will agree, totally. Genevieve, back at camp, though, wants revenge on Saul for taking out Rome. So she's gonna be doing that. So she's talking to Sue. She wants to get Saul out. Sue is on board because Sue is on board for anyone that's not Sue. Quite honestly and frankly. And the journey between Sam, Andy, Rachel, and Caroline forced them all to play against each other in a building a house of cards challenge. It was really boring, honestly. Like, Caroline was getting so into it, and I loved that. Rachel had a really difficult time because she had 2 that were kind of like, she had to complete the triangle and it wasn't really working out for her. Caroline ends up knocking over the tower and ultimately meaning that she would lose her vote. All 3 of the other people will have their vote for tonight's tribal. And then everyone gets back to camp and it's just straight up chaos. Let me try to go through it. So we have Genevieve telling Rachel about the plan to take out Saul. Rachel told Sam about the plan to take out Saul. And Rachel told Sam to not blow up her spot. Sam ended up telling Saul, though, and literally says, Rachel asked me not to blow up my position, but I'm going to blow up her position. And I'm like, I hope Rachel finds out about this and goes after Sam, because that's bullshit on his part, honestly. I understand he's at the bottom and he's playing scrappy, but like, this is your ally. Like, why? No. No, thank you. So now Saul is like, Saul goes to Sam after Sam tells Saul that he's going home, basically. Saul is like, well, why don't we take out Sue? Swing big. Why don't we take out Sue? Or and then there were other people now that Genevieve has found out that everyone knows about the plan for Saul, they're like, well, why don't we just take out Kyle? Because that was the original plan. If he didn't win immunity, whatever. God, it was a complete clusterfuck of an episode, honestly. Complete clusterfuck of an episode. We go to tribal, and my favorite part of this episode is they brought back the jurors walking in. Yes! They're not just sitting there. We saw Sierra walk in, and she was pissed, and she had momentum, and she walked in, and she sat there, and she gave us attitude, the whole tribal, and I loved every moment of it. I loved every moment. I love Petty Ponderosa Queen Sierra I think she might be my favorite person this season. I'm not even gonna lie to you. And I hope she stays petty. I hope her and, spoiler, Saul, I hope Sierra and Saul just get petty at Ponderosa and just come in every week and are just like, I love it. I loved it. I loved every fucking moment of it. It was so good. Yes. So the tribal goes along. Everyone's kind of talking in circles, and everyone's whispering. And there's these moments. Everyone's whispering. Saul says that the plan is sue to Genevieve, and then Genevieve responds with, "You said Kyle." Originally, Saul says okay, and Genevieve is just like, what? Like, I don't get it. Sam is telling Teeny that it's Sue. She's like, did it change? Everyone is confused. Everyone is just genuinely confused. Saul gets up, is trying to, we got a live tribal. I'm not mad at a live tribal. I don't mind a live tribal. I think live tribal is fun. And then everyone's like, is it Saul? Is it Sue? Is it Kyle? None of it matters because Saul goes out on a unanimous vote. Huh? Like, genuinely, the reason I don't have a lot to say about this episode is just because it was so confusing. Like, I was confused the whole time. I did not understand what was happening. It is what it is. But Saul is gone. I'm sad to see Daddy Saul go. But hey, I hope that he maybe walks into jury every week or into tribal every week in an increasingly buttoned down shirt. Saul, if you're listening, thank you for providing a lot of thirsts this season. We appreciate you. We'll be back next week, probably to dissect the clusterfuck of this episode also, as well as talk about next week, episode 10, final 9. We've got 5 more episodes because it was announced that this season is 14 episodes and not 13 episodes, which I find very interesting. So we'll have to see what goes down with that. But otherwise, thank you all for joining me for this recap. Very, very quick, very, very concise, very, very sweet. Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. And otherwise, subscribe, like, and share on the way out. Check out the description where you can find all of our audio podcast links, our other YouTube channels, our Patreon, our social media, and where you can get your merch, including but not limited to cup mug. And with all that being said, I'm going to get out of here. So cheers, survivors. Woo, bye.